Is there a federal OSHA heat standard? A lot of employers are asking that right now, and many are hoping the answer means they can relax. The short answer is no. There is no federal heat standard in effect. But if you think that means OSHA cannot touch you over heat, you are in for an expensive surprise. Let me show you the real status, exactly how OSHA cites heat without a standard, and where a written heat plan is already the law. Let's start with the facts. As of 2026, there is no specific federal OSHA heat standard in effect. OSHA did propose one back in August of 2024, a rule called the Heat Injury and Illness Prevention Standard. It went through hearings, but it has not been finalized, and there is no target date for when or whether it becomes law. So if you're waiting for a single federal heat rulebook that tells you exactly what to do at exactly what temperature, it does not exist yet at the federal level. But, and this is the part that catches employers out, that does not mean heat is unregulated. Here is how OSHA cites heat with no heat standard on the books. It uses the General Duty Clause, Section 501 of the OSHA Act. That clause requires every employer to keep the workplace free of recognized hazards that are likely to cause death or serious physical harm. Heat easily qualifies. It is a well-recognized hazard, and the ways to fix it, water, rest, shade, and acclimatization, are feasible and well-established. So OSHA does not need a heat-specific standard to write you a citation. The General Duty Clause is the tool, and they use it for heat every summer. On top of the General Duty Clause, OSHA runs a Heat National Emphasis Program, and this is what really changes the math for employers. An emphasis program means OSHA is proactively targeting heat, so inspectors do not wait for someone to file a complaint. They open heat inquiries during other inspections and on hot days as a matter of policy. Outdoor work around an 80-degree heat index gets their attention, and days above 90 degrees draw the most scrutiny. The enforcement program was renewed to run for years, which tells you exactly where OSHA is putting its energy while the formal standard sits unfinished. And 5 states did not wait for the feds. They have their own heat rules that require a written heat illness prevention plan. California, under 8 CCR 3395, requires shade at 80 degrees and high heat procedures at 95. Oregon and Maryland trigger around an 80-degree heat index. Washington's rule runs year-round, and Nevada's applies to employers with more than 10 staff. If you operate in any of these 5 states, you are not in a gray area at all. A written plan and the water-shade rest program behind it are flat-out required, and the state can inspect for it. So what if you are in one of the other 45 states with no specific heat rule? You're still not off the hook, because the General Duty Clause applies in every state, and the National Emphasis Program still sends inspectors to hot job sites everywhere. And here is the practical reality. When an inspector shows up after a heat incident, the single best thing you can have is a written heat illness prevention plan that shows you recognize the hazard and put real controls in place. Without a federal standard, that written plan is what demonstrates you did the right thing, and it is your strongest defense against a General Duty Clause citation. So the bottom line is this: do not wait for the federal standard to be finalized before you act, because no federal standard is absolutely not the same thing as no enforcement. The controls OSHA expects, whether through a state rule or the General Duty Clause, are the same everywhere: water, rest, shade, and acclimatization for new workers. A written heat illness prevention plan is legally required in those 5 states, and it is the smart, protective move in all 50. The time to have it in place is before the next hot day, not after an incident and an inspection. So the move is simple: have the written plan ready. This is TailgateDocs. It generates a heat illness prevention plan matched to your state's rule if you are in one of the 5, or to the federal General Duty Clause framework everywhere else, with the trigger temperatures, the water and shade procedures, acclimatization, high heat steps, emergency response, and training all written out. It is $49 one time, and it comes with a Spanish version for your crew. That is the document that turns you to the right things on site into you can prove it when OSHA asks. Link is in the first line of the description and the pinned comment. Quick recap. There is no federal OSHA heat standard in effect as of 2026, only a proposal that has not been finalized. But OSHA still cites heat through the General Duty Clause and inspects proactively under its Heat National Emphasis Program. So no standard does not mean no risk. 5 states already require a written heat illness prevention plan, and having one is the smart move in all 50, both to protect your crew and to defend yourself. If you need that plan, tailgatedocs.com/heat-illness-prevention-plan. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.